Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 183 of the F.Reality Podcast. We've got some hot and fresh VR news to share with you all this week. We discuss the upcoming next-gen PSVR 2 controllers. Hints to VR support is found in the Xbox Series S and Series X operating system. Valve have filed patents to make the Valve Index wireless, and Nathan and I give you our hands-on impressions of the new Vive Facial Tracker and 3.0 trackers from HTC. To round up the show, Zim's got some new releases for you to look forward to next week. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the week. Also, let us know what you played in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. First up, something you didn't know about this guy is that he's a pro Rigs player on PSVR. That's because he's the only Rigs player on PSVR. It's our favorite Frisian. It's of course Nathy. How you doing?
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw you tweeting about Rigs this week.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I tweeted about it. So Rigs was this like esports vibe mech simulator game, in where you were, controlling a mech online multiplayer on the PlayStation VR. Came out in 2016. Was made by Guerrilla, Cambridge, and never really took off. It was also intense to play. It was
very intense to play.
It was a fantastic game, though.
True.
It was brilliant.
True.
Do you mean on the
stomach, right?
Today?
That intensity? You mean like not so happy for the tummy?
Yeah, you were jumping around. You were walking on the walls. We're doing everything that people weren't ready for in 2016.
Do you think people will be ready for it now if it launched now?
Well, we learned a lot more in terms of like mechanics and stuff, and there were no comfort settings that were as advanced as they are now.
Yeah. They had those blinders, right?
Yeah, the blinders.
Could, get on, but they were integrated into the game, which I thought was really, really neatly done.
Yeah, and it had a single player too, where you had to beat people on the rankings and then become the king of the arena. But I tweeted about it because I wanted to see it come back on any possible platform. Because it's still a good looking game. And it's a well made game. It's just it needs to be redesigned for the audience now, because nothing has really changed. People are still very
so you want it as a launch title on PSVR 2?
I mean that's maybe a bit too much, but
okay.
Who knows? It could be fun too. No, but it's just like some games are just sitting there in this time capsule and everyone forgot about them. They're still kind of,
Well, that's the thing. Like we talked about this recently, right? Where, so many people have jumped into VR with the Quest or Quest 2, and they don't realize that there were some really epic games released years ago, like Batman Arkham VR, for example. And like, what was the other one by Twisted Pixel? Wilson's Heart.
Wilson's Heart.
Games like that. They didn't even know that Resident Evil 7 was in VR. A lot of people missed out on a lot of those classic games.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have also not played Lone Echo.
True. Yeah, another classic.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, good point.
Good
point.
So there are definitely some games that could be revived.
Agreed.
And, I think Rigs is one of them. Although, it has to be really redesigned from the bottom up to,
I think a Mac game would be a welcome addition to the PSVR kind of array of games. Having a Mac game in there.
Yeah.
I know Zim would be happy if Vox came to PSVR.
I want Vox on every platform possibly. It belongs in everyone's hands. The game is, in my view, essentially a perfect multiplayer mech game, and it is gorgeous, and everything just works great. And the only thing that's missing is a player base. That's it. And I think it deserves it. The trouble is, like what Nathan was saying with Rigs, it was essentially a 2018 title, and it landed, and people enjoyed it, and then 1,000 other VR games came along and it just got forgotten about. And like what you said, there's so much in the back catalog right now. We're talking about reviving. I'll bet you there's loads of people who don't even know that there's an application called Revive, and what that does.
That's true.
So there's so much back catalog here. If you're just getting into VR, you look at the storefront and you're like, oh, this is all there is to offer. No way, Jose. Look backwards. There's a hell of a lot of stuff there, especially if you get onto PC gaming or, the App Lab stuff now. Tons of stuff there.
Well, I mean, we learned that some games just launch at the wrong moment. We have Solaris that is still a great game. There's nothing wrong with it. It just didn't launch at the right moment, didn't have certain features. Space Junkies as well, awesome title, really fun. If you would relaunch it and you would change some of the things, and as I back then said, make it free to play and then do some cosmetics. Yeah, there are so many games that just launch at the wrong moment. Like it just shows that in the VR scene, you need to be very careful when you launch your game. You can only do it once, and then otherwise it's over. Imagine putting so much money into that for 2-3 years, and then you launch it at the wrong moment. It's just.
Well, you made the great point at Christmas about Medal of Honor's multiplayer. Like that game unfortunately sunk like Titanic, and that multiplayer is so well done. It just it's overkill multiplayer. Like the 12 different levels with like excellent designs, gunplay, gorgeous sound and visuals, and nobody played it.
And that's a few months ago. People already forgot about it now as we speak. So it's the newest it's like one of the newest multiplayer titles you can play, made by a AAA company, and no one plays it because it's just. You don't launch it at the right moment. You don't put a special prize on it separately. Yeah, I know it's a shame, but maybe when VR becomes more mainstream, because companies do want to make easy money. We have seen Bethesda; they just did some quick ports of their games, and they made huge money. So why not just revive it and relaunch it and just try again?
Remastered, right? Riggs remastered. Just remaster all the old games.
But the studio was shut down, so I don't think that that we'll ever see another Riggs unless someone manages to buy that intellectual property or something.
No, but it's funny. Some people say, "Oh, I wish Guerrilla would make a VR game." Well, they already made a VR game once, so I mean, it's just you would not know if you don't look back. So one quick thing that I wanna two things actually. So I bought a PlayStation 5.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a digital one, as I said. Yeah. And the reason why is because I see the news getting hotter, so I had to buy it. Now I'm like, I need to do it. I had to sell some kidneys as well. Less than Mike, definitely less. The price has already dropped.
How many do you have? Do you have a freezer full somewhere?
Yeah. Some illegal ones. Yeah, it was still expensive, but less expensive than when Mike bought it for sure. So if you want to get one, it's not so bad. But
I got one at retail price though.
Oh, you actually was able to.
He bagged it day one, right?
Wow. Yeah. I thought you bought it from someone else for a crazy
No.
price.
I was just lucky on Amazon. I just hit F5 for about 3 hours and was just very lucky. Yeah,
nice.
That's so that feels so good when you get it and the website isn't just crashing. Like there's been so many VR headset launches where it's like the website just goes white and you're like, did my PayPal go through? And then you have some problem and you swap it for a credit card and like, did I just triple charge myself? Is that what I just got into?
Yeah,
it's worth it.
But I did have like an issue recently. I bought some new night trainers. This was it yesterday or the day before, and I was on the website at the launch time. Had it all set up, good to go. Press buy, pending. Didn't get in there. Everything was sold out.
I'm going to translate.
But
Nike trainers means for the American audience, a Nike trainer is a Nike sneaker.
Nike trainer.
Okay. Nike sneaker.
You do know that you can buy like specific IP addresses that are specifically done for buying sneakers. So
what?
I mean, there's huge bots that are just like buying up all of the stock specifically with IP addresses.
Screw those people.
But
I had to buy one from a scalper in the end on eBay. So I'm part of the problem, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anyway, what did you play this week? Did you play anything good?
Yeah, so I didn't play that much, but I do want to highlight one thing that I found very interesting is that on the Oculus platform, on the Oculus Quest platform, you have an application called Immersed. It's pretty much a VR office application. So you can put your office in. It's like virtual desktop, but then
Glue.
Where you can, like Glue and Spatial, etc. And you can jump in there with your colleagues and work on stuff together. You can put all your screens in there. You can also add virtual ones that don't exist. It's a nice app. It isn't free. You have a 6 or 7 days trial. And then you have to pay for it for certain features. It's still free, but of course they take away some of the, with virtual desktop, for example, even that it's not online, you just pay one price done. So I'm not sure if they offer the best package here compared to other ones, but there are like tons of those apps on the store, man. It's insane. But they have one thing that I found cool and that I want for the future, and that is that you can bring your mobile phone into this app as well. It's not as easy, I just connect my phone to my Quest. No, you still have to use a computer. So I found it if we get to the point where you don't need a computer at all, you can just bring your phone in there. That's where we're really going to, shine. But still, that it works and it shows that it's working is awesome. So I could just use my controllers to scroll through my phone, make it bigger or smaller. I could also use hand tracking to swipe through it. So everything works. It's really nice, but imagine being able to do this in every game. I mean, I'm usually someone who plays Population 1, and then in between matches, I'm always on my phone. So I just put my headset up and
that's
just like
what you're
scrolling.
Doing. Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's why you always see me sitting in a corner with my, Yeah.
Is that why it takes you 2 minutes after a match? It's just the mobile.
no,
exactly. Yeah.
No, but it would be nice to be able to multitask and just have it in there. And just
personally, I don't want my phone anywhere near my VR headset. I'm like one of those people that when I jump into VR, I don't get distracted by anything, because like when I'm playing Call of Duty on my PlayStation 5 or whatever, I'm getting notifications on my phone. I'm like being distracted, like the dog's jumping up on me, like, it's just like, I don't want that business. So like, that's why.
Yeah, but the thing is like sometimes someone texts you to play a VR game and you wouldn't know if you're in VR. So you constantly have to take it off and then.
If you have Messenger.
Oh yeah, Messenger.
Oh, God,
of course.
Don't even start that fucking Mike. Jesus. I want to ask you guys a question. I never got to play with it, but when the Vive arrived, the first HTC Vive arrived, that whole mechanism where you could get notified,
cool.
through the Steam platform for your mobile phone messages or whatever. Did that work for Europeans, or was that only an American deal? Did you guys play with that? Did any of you use it?
No, I've never tried it. There was last year a developer who made something also for Steam VR where you could bring your phone in there, but not like I just told you, where it's like almost team viewing your phone. So it was only calls.
There's one on App Lab as well that I just saw last week. In. I forget the name of it. It's something like Your Phone in VR, some simple name like that. I haven't tried it yet, but
Your Phone in VR, is that the name?
It's something close to that. Yeah, I'm sure Chad will catch me up. But I saw it this week and I was like, what is that? I want to try that out. But it was always really intriguing when like a company on their platform brings in something that helps you out with communication and staying in touch with real life or whatever, because if your wife's trying to give you a message or something like that, something important happening outside of your bubble. But like Mike, I'm one who generally like, leave me in my bubble, don't touch my bubble, I'm in my bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is, what is it, immersed VR?
Immersed, yeah. So if you want a glimpse of what that looks like and how that works, it's free for at least 6 or 7 days.
Why that one? Why immersed? Like why? Like Glue for me was pretty, but like why did you go for that? Like was it
because they said like you can bring your phone in there, and I just wanted to try it. So the other apps don't offer that. So I was more interested in that becoming a thing maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Then the app, the app itself was kind of the same as the other apps I've tried. So
Nathan wants to get an achievement for breaking the screen time record on his phone. He has to bring it into VR now as well. Can't be without it.
No.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, this next guy, he's bought a one-way ticket to a space station called Cosmodread. In space, you'll definitely hear this guy scream. It's VR streamer. It's Zim Top 5. How you doing?
Zim reporting in. Good. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to Cosmodread. For those who don't know, I played probably about 200 hours of Dread Halls in my time. So Dread Halls and me have a very special relationship. Some call it Drool Halls, but I'm not going to get into that right now. And in terms of Cosmodread, that's launching later this week. I'll cover that later on in releases, so I won't go into too much detail here. But I had a good week. I've been, as I mentioned, App Lab, because it had this cornucopia of indie stuff that landed, it attracted me, and I was like, okay, let's just dive into this and pick some grapes. So I started with a game called Oceancraft. I mentioned this on passing last week, and it's an interesting premise. So you start off on a raft that's got like 4 pallets. You can imagine just like 4 wooden pallets drifting in the ocean, and there looks like plane wreckage in the water streaming towards you. And so you have to, as stuff is floating by, grab it before it's gone. So planks of wood, petrol canister for plastic for some reason, even though those things are generally made out of metal, barrels that can contain nails and other things, and it's multiplayer. So that was the coolest thing. So like my daughter and I just hopped in together and we were playing this. It's about a $5. It's not free, £5 that is, and it's probably about $7. But like it just kind of gripped me, and it's a survival game. So you have a wrist watch that says, okay, here's your food and hunger and all of that. But like it really reminded me of like almost a simple version of like Subnautica, because that's another survival game with water element, except for you're above the water this time, and you can actually build. So you can build a larger raft. You can even extend to a second story or a third story if you want. There's staircases you can build. You can build a water purifier so you can get, clean drinking water. You can build gardens. You can build pumpkins, peppers. You can fish and then like pull the fish onto this platform, chop them up like in one of the food VR games, grill them. You can have a whole bunch of stuff grilling. Once it's got a grill marks, you pop it in, it gives you great health and all this kind of stuff. So as a multiplayer game, like it's just really fun. And then to top it all off, the most rare thing in the game is duct tape. So I loved hunting duct tape. And when I say hunting duct tape, I mean there's like an animal, what's that? Not Animal Simulator, what's it called? Animal Crossing type balloon that flies across the sky, real slow like. And the bigger your raft is, that you've made it bigger and bigger and bigger, like less stuff shows up. So there's this rare balloon that comes every so often, and like my daughter's screaming, or I'm screaming at her, and we're like, get the fucking balloon, like line up, and then you have to basically with a slingshot that you've manufactured, shoot the balloon. It drops into the water, but it's this teeny tiny little bento box package, and you got to grab it. So you're like furiously grabbing for this thing, and it's just loads of fun. So if you're looking for something to do with family or whatever, I mean, it's still like version 0.3. It's definitely an alpha, but we've done like 4 hours in it, and so far it's just like, wow. At that stage, it's like, okay, I think I've seen and done all the things there is to offer, but it's still like a fun little party game. So that's that's called Ocean Craft, and that's available on App Lab. So
someone in the chat says that yesterday you got some strippers.
Yes, I did. This is a funny thing. Not real strippers, not the strippers that you want, but maybe the strippers that a hungry gamer wants. The chicken strippers from Domino's, because I have a thing on my stream where people can treat stream, which means a third party owns or holds my address info, so it's kind of safe in their hands. Someone who's watching who wants to feed me live on stream pays them. Delivery comes to the front door, and one of the combos we have has chicken strippers or strippers, cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and a pint of ice cream. So getting that from your audience, let me tell you, lads, that is the absolute pinnacle of being a streamer, right?
That is amazing.
It would be awesome if your stream could buy like actual strippers for you. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Maybe we can sort that one out. I'll call 3Stream. Hey guys,
3Stream needs to get on their game. Like, that's a hole in the market right there.
It certainly is.
This is why we want like full RGB see-through.
Yeah. You mean that set in? But I gotta tell you though, when that happens, it is the most paranoid you will ever find me, because I'm here, because as I said, I'm in my bubble, right? And I'm usually wearing closed back headphones and chats blaring in my ears and stuff. If my wife and kids are in bed, I have to check every 3 minutes to make sure that I'm not like
the stripper is fine.
The stripper's not sitting outside, and going cold or something like that. But
don't want cold strippers.
Not at all.
Sure.
And on this, I'm going to just dovetail into one other small highlight of my week, an achievement unlocked that I have to mention, which is that finally I got my mother in VR, and she's like, she's super anti-gamer kind of thing. But we did, of course, Walkabout mini golf. Have to take her into a classic title. Walkabout's amazing, and there's actually a new space level, so check that out.
It's out. Is it out?
It's out. You can play it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god!
I knew Nathan would get excited at that, but it's like if there's like a boss and a mega boss, like Mom being in VR would be like Ultra Boss. She got a little nauseous after half an hour of the teleporting around the little pirate island in Walkabout, but she wants to go back for more, which is just incredible. So that is a huge. That's amazing, and the reason I care about it is because it's like getting the grandmother to interact with granddaughter, especially right now when we can't go visit Ireland or whatever, is a big deal for me. So the fact that she's kind of open to that and that VR has been convincing enough, anyway, try VR on people who even maybe don't want it. See if you can convince them just to give it a go. You might get your people a little bit closer. So that's a heartfelt
I love that you're
message.
having father-daughter time, like Bear Grylls style in virtual reality. That's amazing. And getting your mum in as well. That's awesome.
That's been great.
So next up, this guy likes to drink maple syrup and eat beaver tails for breakfast. He's our resident Canadian VR gamer, looking very sort of like broody today. Looks like a frontman of a boy band, the one and only Rowdy VR. How you doing?
Yeah, a boy band, Mike.
Yeah.
Is that serious? Okay, that was exactly the look that I was going for. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for that. No, I'm doing fine actually. The highlight of my week is it's not particularly VR related, but it made me think a little bit. Since the lockdown, I've been getting more into music again, and I was and still am a huge fan from Alice in Chains, as some of you might know, in particular of their lead singer Lane Staley. And his Remembrance Day is actually coming up fairly soon. He died unfortunately on the 5th of April in 2002, the same date, only a couple of years later than Kurt Cobain did. He's probably one of the greatest vocalists ever been around, in my opinion, and he's done this together with the band Alice in Chains. He's done this MTV Unplugged show, which became very, very famous and was really well done. It's still one of my favorite performances on MTV Unplugged. And I was kind of like thinking, like, it's been a shame that we haven't seen more of the emphasis on like these kind of things during the lockdown, implementing that in VR, because I think what MTV Unplugged did really well was, creating that more like isolated environment. They still had an audience, although that wasn't really the emphasis for these kind of performances. But they had a really nice kind of setup, and I think that I find it strange that we haven't seen more of that coming through with this lockdown. Of course, I know that in Belgium actually they did do an entire music show here with where they did 10 hours of live music. Of course, with no audience, but it did a lot of camera scenes. But I find it strange that we still haven't seen more of that, going to the virtual reality scene. We have that in the US with those kind of performances sometimes. We haven't seen anything really in Europe. And it's a bit regretting. I'm a bit regretting that, because I do miss festivals, going to performances in these past couple of months. It's been kind of rough, but it's been I think a little bit of a missed opportunity that we don't see more of these kind of companies pop up and trying to do something unique with, we've seen some, but not really a lot.
I think the problem is the capture is technically quite challenging, and I think that's the problem. And especially we didn't know how long this was going to play out. So whether they wanted to invest early on in that technology and learn the skills and get production people on board and do that safely, it's very challenging. I think maybe now that we're into it a lot deeper, I think they probably are thinking maybe we should leverage newer, these different technologies to get our name out there and keep doing gigs and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. And we've seen it to a certain extent with Zoom already. Of course, not everyone has a VR headset, and it's kind of hard to convince a producer to spend a lot of money into making something VR compatible if that not everyone has access to that. But with Zoom, we saw that there was actually quite a few live concerts being done through Zoom, which I think is a really unique concept. But maybe not on such a big scale, but maybe more for individual musicians or something like that could use a platform to maybe reach a new audience using these kind of platforms. I think that would be welcome.
I
would agree. It's one of the barriers that I see for it, Rowdy, is I had my best music VR experience earlier this year, mid COVID and all lockdown and stuff, which was Major Lazer put on a thing in venues. You could go and see it. Yeah. And there were other venues characters hopping and really enjoying it. But I'd say it was about a tenth of the audience who was kind of into it. And there was definitely a social awkwardness there. When you can't pick up the faces, and this is probably going to integrate really well with our topic later, but when you can't pick up the human side of reactions and see excitement off of someone else, and then you get excited, and that kind of amping off of each other, because I tend to be the kind of guy who I'd be happy to jump on a table and just Nathan does this more than I do, but just actually kind of get into music and kind of get into that vibe or whatever. And I don't mind doing it even if people around me aren't really vibing, because the music is kind of what matters to me. But it's still, right now, there are definitely breaks in that. What I mean is there's a lack of momentum in those places that because of the medium. So Mike's point about capture, totally agree about that. It's so complicated, and the technology isn't cheap to capture either. Then you've got silly things like internet connectivity and that stream breaking down, throttling in terms of the bandwidth. So I agree with that. But for me, the social barrier has been the one that's been most pronounced. And I would just repeat it that I went to something in South by Southwest this week, which was the theater experience. And it was the same thing where it's like the actual production, the acting and all that, really solid. But the social side of it, when it comes to interacting with other humans, it's a bit like those awkward pauses in conversation, you know? And the same thing that I think that this year a lot of people learned about with Zoom, like you mentioned. It's like one of those things that just becomes kind of awkward. How do we get past that awkwardness, you know?
Plus, like for example, in venues, that's not the festival audience in there. That's just like people who bought a Quest and are in there because they're in, but not everyone is going to festivals usually. So that audience that usually goes to festivals has maybe not even discovered VR yet. So when those people are also partying in real and then also in VR, then that's a different kind of people. And those people, they don't care about who you are, how you dance, whatever. Let's just fucking party together, you know?
But all it would take is someone like Glastonbury, for example, to say, right, we've got a lineup. It's all going to be streamed in VR. The ticket price is, you know, whatever it is, like $20, but you got to buy a headset. Well, that's pretty much the price of Glastonbury tickets anyway, like the price of a headset and $20 for an app.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So people, I think that crave that might enjoy something like that. But again, it's still very early days for something like that.
Very risky. Yeah, I'd agree.
I agree with that. I mean, the thing with it is, like, for me, like, music has always been a very, like, immersive experience. I've done music myself for the majority of my life, actually. So, like, music in itself is a very immersive experience, and for me, it's a logical step to get into that next phase, because I know VR and I know music, and like I find those two matching very, very well. And I would just welcome something more into that kind of line as well. That's the only thing I wanted to.
It's like I think Rowdy is right. I mean, they have been experimenting with it, but we haven't really seen something big actually getting rolled out where we can buy a ticket and just go.
But there's technical limiters as well, and I'd forgotten about that when I was making my points. Like, you probably in most apps right now, like 40 people, 60 people, like you don't have
that hasn't been...
a crowd generally. I mean, what's the biggest crowd that you guys have? Yeah, and the fake thing doesn't work. The instancing. Do you remember? I don't know if you guys went to the Bill Nye thing with me, but that was like in alt space. It was kind of embarrassing. It's just like it's you know, either it's faked characters, so it's like a fake crowd and only the people around you. Yeah, it just doesn't work. So
they have to mirror it. I think VR chat is one of the largest, but then like after all, your whole headset becomes like a 2 frame per second thing, you know. So I don't know if you want to do that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd definitely be up for more music events in VR. But
I think the ones in VR chat were pretty cool. You know, even that. Sometimes they're also a little bit awkward in the social side, but
it's limited. You want to have that, like Zim said, the sense of being in a crowd and bouncing off each other.
Actually, you make a good point, Nathan. The best club experience I've had was in VR chat, because some of the like chill out clubs where they're quite dark. Awesome. The music is there, but like you're just hanging out with VR chat users and they've got all their fun avatars or whatever. You can actually get to that vibe. You can get to that kind of chill out vibe, and it's different from like a music festival vibe, which like Rowdy.
Full body tracking.
God damn, I miss.
That's what you need.
You want see Mike Daz with full body track? I'm in, man. I'm in.
We're going to be talking more about that later on. So that's our highlights of the week. I don't really have one as such. Neos is one, but we're going to be talking about that as part of our discussion with the Vive Facial Tracker later on. But what about the chat? What have they been up to? Anything interesting from them?
Yeah, so we have Elnar VR, who has been playing 1976 Back to Midway the demo. So that's pretty awesome. So there is a demo out there.
There is on Oculus App Lab.
And then we have Ben Matthew, who has been playing Gorilla Tag, Warplanes, Path of the Warrior, and that's about it. He played with 2 people. Yeah, you can play Path of the Warrior with 2 people.
Co-op,
Path of the Warrior. What kind of game is Path of the Warrior?
Beat 'em up.
Brawler, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like Streets of Rage.
Oh, that one. I remember it now. Yeah.
It's one of those exams where a game just launches and half the people have never played it by now.
Don't play with your mom. That's a violent game.
Yeah, be careful.
People in the face.
I love that one.
Then we have Angry Tribble, who has been jumping into the Museum of Other Realities. It was free this week, I think.
Still is free, yeah.
And next week as well.
I believe
2
so,
weeks.
yeah.
Worth checking out. Really feels like a museum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's not. Imagine if it wouldn't be feeling like a museum; it would be trippy. Then we have Michael Lee, who has been playing Ancient Dungeon.
Nice choice.
He says it's a lot of fun to jump into, just random fun. Nice. And last but not least, PD, who has been playing the Bioshock mod, but we will be talking about that later too. So
yeah. A lot of App Lab content. You know,
yes,
nice.
loads.
Nice.
Loads.
App Lab's getting some love. So let's jump straight into the news then. We've got some juicy stuff, starting with PlayStation. This week, in a surprise announcement, PlayStation unveiled their next generation PlayStation VR controllers. And as we know from the previous announcement from PlayStation, a new PSVR is indeed in the works, although it will likely release sometime next year. And as we know already, it's going to be compatible with the new PS5 console. We still haven't seen the headset itself, but we did get a look at the new controller design, which does hint to some other interesting features about the headset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list some of the features that they've advertised in the blog, and then you can give me your thoughts on each one of these kind of features, and we can discuss them individually. So starting with one of the most interesting ones is adaptive triggers. So each controller will include an adaptive trigger that adds palpable tension when pressed, similar to what's found in the DualSense controller. So I don't know if you guys have played around with the DualSense, or am I the only one?
The new one, the PS5 DualSense.
Yeah, PS5 controller.
No, I haven't felt it. I've just seen all those videos, so I've felt it with my eyes.
Right. Okay. So to give you an example, especially for those of you that haven't seen this technology in action, in games like Call of Duty, for example, when you pull up your gun to your sights, you'll feel the tension in the trigger, and then when you pull the trigger button to fire it off, it will kind of bounce off and kind of give you that rumble feedback on your finger. It sounds like something that you'd be like, it's kind of like gimmicky. But when you try it, you're like, holy crap, I want this in like every single controller that I own. It really is that good. And certainly when I picked up the DualSense for the first time, and we kind of had rumblings that, you know, PlayStation will bring out another VR headset in the future, I was like, we need this on the next gen PSVR. So the fact that they've added this straight off the bat into the new PSVR 2 controllers, I'm beyond hyped for it. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So that is the adaptive triggers.
That's
it's going to be
all
next level.
That's all I got to say. It's just tactile is a necessity for next gen VR.
Yeah. Something so small like that can really make a big difference. You know, even like Zim said many times, a small amount of haptic feedback in VR goes a long way, right?
I think if you actually pay attention to the haptics that are in modern controls, right? Doesn't matter what system you have. If you pay attention to how many places the haptics kick in and give you that experience, that feel. If you then play with an experience where you don't have haptic feedback, it feels like dead in your hands. It really feels like all you're doing is wiggling a stick and pressing some buttons. It's surprised how unalive that then feels. So this next grade of tactile for me is like ultra. This is probably the number one feature which excites me about PSVR 2.
Yeah.
But the neat thing about it is just bringing in another sense into virtual reality, right? You have your eyes, you have your ears that has already gone into virtual reality. Now it's also bringing in, you know, more like the tactile kind of feedback. Next, we need smell, you know, get that into VR as well.
Yeah.
Nostrils Rift, right, Sim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as well as adaptive triggers and getting that feedback, you also have haptic feedback in the controllers themselves. They'll be optimized for the form factor that they've produced. And they say that it will make every sensation in the game world feel more impactful, textured, and nuanced. So that's going to be typical Rumble, I would imagine. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy.
Going to be Joy-Con Ice Cube stuff?
Maybe. We don't know. They haven't been too descriptive in what it can do, but that would be pretty next level if they could pull that off, because the Joy-Cons do something very special.
I mean, honestly, if you look at what you played so far in VR, I see a lot of developers not really using the haptic feedback in the controls that much. You know, there's so much you can do with that. You know, like little sensations can be, you know, really translate into very cool stuff.
Yeah. I think with the adaptive triggers, I think that offers more creativity.
Yeah, the combination.
So I think we'll see some interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
You also have finger touch detection. The controller can detect your fingers without any pressing in the areas where you place your thumb, index, or middle fingers. And this enables you to make more natural gestures with your hands during gameplay. Now, from the impression that I get from reading that, which is like verbatim from the blog, is that it's capacitive touch sensors, not necessarily the tech that we saw previously in the prototype that we showed off on the show a while back.
Yeah.
That had full finger tracking. This sounds more like capacitive touch like we see in the Oculus Touch controllers.
Makes sense for a consumer product. That's what I would expect. They're kind of coming up to par there with Oculus's controllers then.
On the other side, having played with the Valve Index, it's not like I feel like it's a must.
I agree. I think, Oculus do that hand
I
presence
thought
pretty well.
it was going to be a must. I thought when the Valve Index was announced, like this is gonna be like we don't want to get rid of that. But now after playing a few,
I think the problem is that there wasn't enough content that really leveraged that technology. We had Half-Life Alyx, we had the Hand Lab demo that was made by Cloudhead Games, which was also pretty great. Yeah. But there's not really many other experiences that really leverage that technology.
It's very much, I would call this an icing on the cake. In other words, once the cake of VR is ready, we can layer on the icing. It's very similar, unfortunately, as an audio file. It's very unfortunate, but a lot of games don't take full use of full stage 3D spatial audio. And when you put that in there, it really makes it, right? And it's the same thing here. Like to be able to have, again, full finger tracking in VR, it's the icing on the cake. Like it's another final stage evolution, right, for your Pokemon. So that's what we want is just that last mile. But I think it'll come back. I just don't think now is the right time. It's very similar to what we were talking about with rigs. Like it's all about timing. And I think right now we don't want icing, we want cake.
Yeah, but the interesting part, if we talk about gestures and stuff, so we can do that with the Valve Index now. We can do that with the Oculus Touch controllers. You can just do a thumbs up, stuff like that. But there haven't been many games where it's getting used. For example, in Lone Echo, if you communicate with the characters, you can do a thumbs up and stuff, and they respond to that. At least in Lone Echo 2. I don't know if it also was in Lone Echo 1. But when I played the demo, you could do a thumbs up, and they would respond to that. So you could just communicate with that. And I think with Sony,
the only person that's ever played Lone Echo 2.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. But that's an example of like what you can do with gestures. Then just they're there, and no one really implements them into any game. And I think Sony will be able to turn a thumbs up into things that that I don't even know yet what is gonna.
Thumbs, triple thumbs.
They're gonna do something. No, but they're gonna do something cool with it. I don't know. Maybe you could create a puzzle game with gestures, for example. You could do that.
That's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, but the thing is, I think it's a huge pet peeve of mine. When it comes to VR implementation, like when you can't do whatever, the peace sign or a thumbs up in any game, I feel like you've cut my fingers off. Like, allow me to do the thumbs up, especially if it's social or multiplayer.
It's not universal. It's not universal. Some games where you try to squeeze your hands, it doesn't work. But but it's just what I'm saying is they have, like Oculus had the technology, Valve has certain technology, but no one really uses it in the games to their full potential. And I think with Sony, they will do that. I'm almost sure they are going to do that. We have seen it with the freaking gamepad. I mean, it was just a gamepad, and then a few years later, we were playing Astrobot with it. Like, holy shit.
That was awesome. The way they implemented the gamepad in Astrobot was amazing.
The difference is, of course, that Sony has, and Oculus is starting to, has a huge production company of making games, right? Sony Productions. They make so many specific games also for VR.
And
they'll
Sony,
be able to use in-house develop software and hardware to produce those kind of titles, so they can maximize the use of that.
And the people who work at Sony are gamers. Well, Facebook originally isn't a gaming company. It has to still grow in that kind of,
That's why the thumb tracking is so good. That like button. Press it now.
Yeah, sure. Sure, man, sure.
So the next feature, which gives a hint as to what might be going on with the headset, is that the VR controller is going to be tracked by the headset itself. There's a tracking ring across the bottom of the controller, and that runs across your hand. So it looks like it's got hidden infrared LEDs in it, like the Oculus Touch. So it suggests that we're going to have inside-out tracking with the headset as well, because it's going to need to have cameras on it to track the controllers. So it would totally make sense.
Or do you have to screw light bulbs into it?
Let's just hope that it doesn't have any outside tracking cammers or any business like that.
I was
inside out.
You know when that first image dropped and they weren't showing so much the front, and I was like, I bet you there's a glowing ball that you just screw into the front of it. Like I was convinced that that's what's coming.
It comes with the package.
I love how these look though. I really do. I think they look really cool. Yeah.
They do look really nice. Do look really nice. So inside-out tracking looks like it's going to be on the cards.
Nice. That's very good.
And also looking closely at the images, there is a USB-C charging port visible on one of the images. So it looks like they're going to have an internal battery that you just plug in and charge the controllers. A bit like what we're familiar with the Moves. And I think the other big feature is, of course, thumbsticks. This is the move from PlayStation, from the Move, to finally have parity with what's going on in the rest of the industry with thumbsticks. And I think this is going to be great for us. It's going to be great for consumers. It's going to be great for developers. It's going to be great for everyone, because especially from a developer's point of view, can you just imagine what it was like for them 3 years ago when you had Oculus Touch controllers, you had Vive ones, you had PlayStation Move controllers, all of them significantly different in design from each other. Now we're starting to see all of these kind of controller designs unify and follow the same kind of pattern. The button layout is pretty much identical on all these controllers. Yeah. So I think it's going to mean porting games across platforms, hopefully, is going to be an easier process for these developers.
They now made controllers that are for VR. Well, the moves were these ancient things that I don't know when they came out, and they were able to resell them just for their VR system, but they weren't originally made to do VR. So now they finally got to create something with all the knowledge they have and all the experience they have to really create a controller that does gaming. And I think that's super exciting.
The funny thing also is, this looks... Go on, Reddy.
About the form factor, I was talking with Anton, developer from Hot Exhaustion and Hand Grenades, and he actually said that he was very interested in the controller design of it, because the way that the controllers are made now, when you bring your hands together, when you're playing with the Oculus controllers, you often bump them together. Same with the Vive ones, you bump them together. But with this, because the loops go outward, you can actually bring your hands together very closely, almost touching each other without actually bumping into each other, which is actually a really good kind of concept design. I mean, leave it to Sony, right, to make a gaming controller that really is what we want. So I'm very interested in seeing where this goes.
Well, I like when you invent a controller, it's important to think about, okay, what games are people going to be able to play with that, right? And then you create the controller. Well, I've also seen people create the controller first and then think about what games you would be able to play on it. So here, I'm sure they have come up with some new game designs we haven't seen before that are going to be able to be pulled off with these controllers. I think there's more than meets the eye that we just don't know yet.
We had a tweet from Brandon Latch actually talking about sort of developer response to these controllers. He's the man behind Boneworks, if you're not familiar. Yep. And he posted on Twitter after the announcement this week that they address everything that prevented us from supporting Move controllers. Need to get our hands on to make the call, but just by looking at them, I'd say there is a 90% chance we'll support them. So that's a hint there that Boneworks may potentially end up on PSVR 2 as well in the future, which is pretty awesome.
That's nice.
Or they create something new. I mean, they're always about trying new hardware and then build something on top of that.
Like the thing for me is, I think that Sony, when they do a controller, I remember seeing the AIM controller and thinking, that's really smart. You just saw the placement of the various, the buttons, the trackpad, the form factor, but also the kind of cleanliness of it. I like the hygiene of these controllers. They really look sleek. They'd be easy to clean. They're not, they don't have funny ridges all over the place that's grime's gonna stick in. But also they're really Sony. They look super PlayStation. They really have this look of a patent I saw a couple of years ago where they had these kind of funny shaped controls when they were talking about the DualShock, the new DualShock pad that would come out, and it had this funny almost manta ray style to it, and this almost picks up from that, and so I really like seeing it. It looks sleek, and someone was taking from the various pictures saying that they appear to be cut from a sphere, and that they're actually quite spherical. And now, why is that important? A sphere is actually quite strong in plastic. And so that means they will be more robust than if they weren't, because then you get these plastic stress points appearing within the build. So I like the look of it. It's really interesting. Rowdy, I'm glad you highlighted the point about the controller shape and the fact that you've got the cutaway. It's funny now that the three companies are all playing the game of where do we put the ring. But this seems like a really inventive change. It's great to have this news so early as well so that we can get excited about it. Unlike Nathan, I'm definitely waiting. I'm waiting to until the very last minute to pick up a PS5 in a bundle, because the bundles for PlayStation VR were insane. The fact that you could get 5 or 6 games together with a console and PlayStation VR for a price that's 200 quid less than what it should have been.
I'm wondering waiting. How much of a push are they going to make with this again? With the PlayStation VR, they did these insane bundles, but we're now a couple of years further, and since the way that I see it now is that even though they said in the beginning, VR, we don't know what kind of future we're going to go with it. We keep it in our hindsight, but whatever. But now I'm wondering, like, are they like really gonna like push this as much as they did before, like even more, because the industry has changed?
They're already more, because like the PS Plus stuff, you highlighted it when you were when you guys were covering releases, that they had like Farpoint. They had like they're actually now all of a sudden, and it feels like they went quiet for at least 6 months. All of a sudden now they're like, ready yourself for the tidal wave. We've got plans. And they're making sure news is hitting us regularly, which makes me super excited, because this is early. This is a year before they're going to launch. So they want noise. They want to make noise.
They go way bigger. They go way bigger.
Way bigger.
I mean, like I know I keep repeating myself with Iron Man, but Iron Man didn't come out in 2016. It came out last year. It's a freaking huge ass title. And the PlayStation VR 1 was already outdated. So, I mean, that just shows that they're just willing to make games. And that's what excites me the most. It's not necessarily the hardware. I'm sure they know what they're doing with that. But the games, man, like I am just ready to actually play some legit, solid games that are hours long, that are just amazing, that just feel like games, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that I just don't get on Steam. And that's also something I don't get on on the Oculus platform. That's something that only Sony has been giving me on a let's say a regular base. They were able to pull it off nonstop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do totally agree. You know, like if we get Resident Evil 8, for example, that'll be a game changer. Another Firewall game with a new aim controller would be a game changer. A new Astrobot. You know, these are the things that will really make it blow up.
I mean, look at these controllers. We're gonna get Spider-Man. Like you can do this now. You're gonna get it. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It's funny that Zim mentioned about the Sphere, because they refer to them as orbs, and I wonder if that's going to be a name for them going forward, the orb controllers. Because you know, we've always kind of had nicknames for controllers, you know, like the Knuckles, for example. And I wonder if Orb will be something that carries on forward. But I think it's also been interesting from my perspective to like log on to websites like IGN and GameSpot and see them make this announcement, and then go into the comments and see what the community is saying, like the traditional gaming community. And so far it seems very, very positive, which I'm really excited about, because, you know, these traditional gamers, maybe they don't want to go the Quest route because they don't like the whole Facebook integration. Maybe they can't afford a PC on the high end, but they see this as a nice middle ground, you know, that's a good compromise. And like Natey said, is going to deliver the games that they want to play. So I think this is going to be exciting for everyone.
And a lot of people are not aware of the Oculus Quest, maybe in America, but here in Europe, PlayStation is the leader. Same with Xbox, you know, it's something that doesn't really land here. So when PlayStation comes out with something like that, they're going to roll it out in the stores. Of all the headsets, I've seen the PlayStation VR in every store I went to, but the Oculus Quest, I've barely seen any laying around here in the stores. Valve Index, of course, isn't in stores. So PlayStation is putting advertisement on TV. They will have events where people, if let's say the pandemic is over, they will have places where you can try it. I mean, if you went to Gamescom and E3, dude, they were trying to get as many people into all those demos as fast as they could, you know, like 5 minutes, job simulator, you can make appointments for everything. So yeah, they like, you can already see more people talk about this than when the Oculus Quest 2 launched.
And their marketing budget is normally very high when they want to push their new technology. I remember in London they had an enormous headset PlayStation VR headset at one of their train stations, for example.
Train stations.
And every time we've seen PlayStation demo at conventions and stuff, like they really take it seriously. Their branding is through the roof. They give an appropriate amount of time for their appointments, and normally they sell out. Like, I mean, they book out within the first hour of a convention opening its doors. So, like, there's a lot of interest there. I agree with you, Mike. I think this next push, this is now the consumer centric. The world's now ready for VR, and Sony wants to capitalize on that.
And I think, you know, talking about games, because I think, you know, like Nathy said, it's a very important aspect from the PlayStation VR side of things. And I think, you know, the great thing is that, like you say, we've seen some games being added on PlayStation Plus recently. We've had, Concrete Genie, and we've also had Farpoint on PlayStation Plus. So if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you can add those games to your library now. And I'm sure they're going to be backwards compatible with the new hardware when it finally releases. But on top of that, PlayStation are also running a play at home campaign, which is going to give you the opportunity to grab some PSVR games now for free and, like, you know, add them to your library preemptively for when you eventually get a PS5 or a VR2 headset. So starting from next week, the 25th of March, you'll be able to add these games to your PlayStation account and keep them forever, even if you're not a PS Plus member. So there's some Pancake games in the mix as well, but the PlayStation VR games are Astrobot, which is phenomenal. You got Moss, which is also an incredible platformer, Thumper, Res Infinite, and Paper Beast, and you can add those 5 games to your PlayStation game library now, and then play them for free in the future when you eventually get.
Thank you for explaining that, Mike, because I didn't differentiate between PS Plus and Play at Home, and I didn't know that this was something that they were doing as a freebie for others. That's fantastic, especially because a lot of those titles are single player. Like Paper Beast is the perfect example of a game that will eat 3 hours of your life, is really pretty to look at, but you probably didn't want to sink $16 or $20 into, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even think you need any PlayStation hardware right now to take advantage of this offer. So, even if you're just on the fence, create a free PlayStation account, add these games to your account, and then when you eventually do take the plunge, you've got like 5 games ready to play before you
Thumper
even.
too,
This is what I'm saying. Like Sony is very generous, rewards you for being their customer, knows what their library exists out of since 2016. They know how to re-advertise them. Well, as I said, Lone Echo, nobody knows about. You could still advertise, great game. You could still do that, but Sony just knows everything about what they created and are aware of it. But
I do think you're right when you said, the thing is with PlayStation is, they've been in the gaming industry for such a long time.
Very experienced.
They execute it very well. Whereas I think, Oculus, they're still very new. Just recently we've seen some very half-baked games like Jurassic World Aftermath and Tales from Galaxy's Edge, where they literally are half games. And I just don't think that would fly on the PlayStation platform so much.
Yeah, but we're getting to a point now where those kind of things are crucial in terms of sales and where the customer is going to go. Because where I want to go is where the games are.
Yeah, of course.
But the thing that I think that Oculus does should do just better on, regardless of money, is like revitalizing old titles. Like if you look at PlayStation Plus, why don't we have something like that on Oculus yet? Like something that you get a game for free every month, and that can be an older title. Then you can bring like let's say that they make Medal of Honor, because nobody is playing it anymore. Make it a PlayStation Plus title, free for a month.
Yeah,
but that's because PlayStation invented.
You might want to make
they
it.
came up with it. So.
Oculus Plus title. If you give it to PlayStation, then.
Yeah, but on one side,
I mean, I'm just pulling your chain.
On one side, I think this. On one side, I get it. I'm missing that too on Oculus, their platform. But on the other side, it's good that they didn't do everything perfectly, because then there would be no competition. So this is now Sony is there, and they offer something better. So they have to step up their game. They can't just keep going like this and sell part 1, part 2 games. I mean,
and this is why I think the competition will be great. Although they won't directly compete, there's going to be some, you're going to be able to look over the fence and say, what are they doing better? Okay, let's improve. Let's reiterate on our design and focus. On
Rowdy's idea there. So we have obviously Steam free weekends for certain games. Have we had free weekends for Oculus Home titles? My brain's telling me we have in a few instances.
They gave Asgard's Wrath away. For what reason, I don't know anymore. We couldn't really.
That was the celebration. That was the celebration of Oculus Quest 2 launching, essentially. But it was bizarre because it's such a heavyweight title that if you have, say, a Quest 2 and a laptop that's like a gaming laptop, that probably still won't run, Asgard's Wrath very well.
But it was a big game that was free.
Yeah, that was the one time. But 2-3 years ago, didn't they do some
but
free weekends?
No, not done much. It's rare. It's rare. Maybe Steam has done it a few times where they have the demo weeks where you could play all these demos, but not necessarily free games. Only Epic Games does that on PC, but they don't have a VR thing yet. But if they have a VR thing, then I'm sure they're gonna roll that out for the VR titles too. But no, we don't.
I just want to highlight as well, it's not just Oculus that are not executing particularly well on games just recently. The whole Steam ecosystem is the same, right? We haven't seen that really immersive single player story-driven experience since Alex, really, that kind of touched similar base. Yeah. I know Medal of Honor was close.
Well,
I know Zim enjoyed it, but certainly for me it didn't come close.
Well, there are a lot of indie games that do some stuff, but I mean, you really have to look for it yourself. On PlayStation, you don't have to worry about downloading something that isn't that great. It's usually very well moderated.
Let's not forget as well that if you want like a deep single player kind of campaign, that doesn't only take money, it also takes like huge amount of time just to develop that. And regardless of that, like I don't think that we'll see. I mean, we maybe start seeing that in like, you know, in a few years to come, but you know, to develop a title like that, you know, you can't expect that really from like an indie or a smaller studio. Even the studios that like are under Oculus wing right now aren't like the biggest studios. Some are getting to that point, but I like seeing like deep involved single player campaigns.
Well, I think the reason why we haven't seen that much is because developers aren't necessarily motivated to make something for the PC VR market. Well, as far as I know, what I've seen from Sony with their ecosystem, developers just want to hop on board and create something. Where on PC, a lot of the big games we got in the past, like Lone Echo, was because a huge amount of money got given to the studios to make a VR game. Well, they weren't necessarily planning to do one themselves. So if that,
but what like unique, you know, PSVR unique story-driven experience have we then specifically seen?
Blood and Truth.
Blood and Truth, okay. But you have like a few of those as well.
Farpoint is another good one, yeah. What about Hitman? Yeah. I mean, Hitman's enormous in terms of content.
Although the controller was rubbish. I'm sure that game's going to get updated with the new headset. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I've said this before as well, I wouldn't be surprised if Half-Life Alyx comes to PSVR 2. Maybe not as a launch title, but maybe eventually. Yeah. It would totally make sense. You know, Valve have done it before.
We have a lot to be excited for. And that's
definitely.
The thing is, if anyone's been on the hype train since early on, like being on the hype train is, for me, half the fun. Like I don't like leaks really, but I really love like when you get this drip fed news and you can get excited about it and you can dream about it. It's that, again, it's being the kid hoping for Christmas, and I'm glad we've got something in 2022 we can look forward to.
And I think that right now, like, this announcement is timed because PlayStation is starting to send out these controllers to devs, and they don't want them to be leaked. They want to handle the press around it. So I think that's smart on their behalf. You know, I don't know, maybe we'll get a leaked headset, or maybe they'll do the similar sort of tactic with the headset.
The thing that I've always applauded like PlayStation 4 is like the diversity in their games. I think that they've always done. You had like, you know, platformers like Astrobot, but you also had like really different things, like for example Static. I still haven't seen a game like that. You know, hitting one of the other stores, and how is it called again? Like that platformer with the audio experience. I forgot the name of it now.
Platformer with audio.
Yeah, I forgot the name.
Res Infinite, but that's not it.
No.
Yeah.
It was a platformer. But
Space Channel 5?
Please, please.
What I'm just trying to say is that it seems sometimes that PlayStation allows the developers to have a little bit more creative freedom into doing things that are different, rather than just following the kind of like success formula that we know will work, like we see sometimes with the Oculus title.
It's funny you mentioned that, because me and Nathan jumped into a clubhouse
exactly the same thing we said.
And we were talking about Puzzling Places, you know, that's on Oculus App Lab.
Yep.
It's just got approved for PlayStation Store, but it's still waiting for approval on the official Oculus Store, even though it's like a pretty well-known application from both SideQuest and App Lab. So you're kind of right in that sense. That's a good example of an app that, you know, has been approved on PlayStation, but is still waiting to be approved on the Oculus Store. And it's kind of like a hidden gem, you know? Yeah,
and on that same track, Mike, one thing that differentiates the PlayStation platform, even for PSVR, right, even back in the day, is their QA system, their quality assurance. They do not allow, you know, like, it's like the frame drop, the low lag in performance. I had it as somebody who always has had kind of a medium tier PC, and I kind of stick to that. Sometimes you'll have a game that's poorly optimized on PC because they don't have the same kind of benchmarks or submission standards. And although Oculus have done a fair amount of work in that space over the last 3 years, I would say Sony's like quality process really does shine, and you feel it. It's so easy to hop into a game. Take, for example, No Man's Sky. Yes, it's really low fidelity because PlayStation VR isn't great, but does it run at 90? Yeah, it flat runs at 90. It's beautiful, never hitches. You know what I mean? That's the difference you get in that platform. So if you want to play something smooth that really does immerse you, and you can just kind of, again, be in your bubble space, PlayStation has always been a really safe home. So I hope that they keep their standards. I know they're exacting. I know it's tough for developers, from all the developer friends that I have. Sony QA is quite difficult and a bit of a pain in the ass, but I hope they keep those standards because I want to see that on PSVR too.
Well, just something else. I think that there is one secret trick that they will be able to really market with, and that is how you share your VR experiences with people from the outside. And that's not only the family on the couch watching, but it's also when you share something to YouTube, to Twitch, to wherever you want, because there is still no one who has nailed that. Like, we know about this because we have to really try hard every time to get you some footage. It's not easy. It's also not hard, but it's just not consumer friendly. Let's say it like that. Mm-hmm. But if they can create something where, I don't know, they use the cameras in ways we haven't seen before. They do mixed reality, or I don't know, like, I'm just doing some wild guesses. That could really work, because if things get shared on social media with VR, they do explode and people find it very interesting.
PlayStation is a really easy, the whole one button sharing streaming thing is really something
VR,
that
for sure.
They had it before Steam had it. They had it before other platforms had it. The one button share. They talked about the create button, I think is what they referred to it as in the post, that one of the controllers will have that. I'll tell you what my ask is. It's a lot lower down than what Nathan's asking for. A 16:9 frame. Can I please have my output
one? Yeah.
Not in
also live stream wise, where there's a chat popping up in ways. But I'm just saying, like,
they did that with PlayStation.
Yeah. But it was very basic. What I'm saying is, it's going to be more interactive and maybe
customizable or something. Yeah, just give creators a little bit more, because the power of sharing is incredibly impactful when it comes to sales.
It's half the advertisement for VR.
Yeah.
As you can probably tell, we're pretty excited about PSVR.
Yes.
That's news item one. How long are we? An hour in.
Spoiler alert, we were excited.
So let's move on. But I think it's great for the industry. You know, Quest is dominating right now. This is on the horizon. It's very, very good time for us all. So we all have a lot to be happy about right now, I think. Because, you know, even if you're just interested in Quest, you know, I just want to reiterate that this will be good for you anyway in the long run. Even if you're not interested in buying PSVR, PlayStation, anyone developing in the VR ecosystem and the word getting out there is good for the industry. So anyway, right. Whilst we're on the subject of console VR, we had some interesting news which surfaced online this week from IGN Italia about Xbox. Now, it seems that when connecting the latest Xbox wireless headphones to the Xbox Series S and X consoles with the Italian language selected, a pop-up appeared which, when translated, said the VR headset needs to be updated, along with an update for the VR headset is available and update VR headset. This led to a lot of speculation online that Xbox have some plans for VR support in the future. However,
only for Italy.
Yeah, only for Italy. Only Tyriel Wood can play it. However, Xbox did quickly rebut the rumors by offering a statement. And this is what they said. They said the description in this error message is inaccurate due to a localization bug. Console VR is not our priority right now. And our Italian friend, Tyriel Wood, who I just mentioned, went a step further to test things out. He connected a Windows MR headset to his Xbox One Series X console, and as we can all imagine, nothing happened.
No. So this is just a typo.
Just a typo, it seems. So Xbox are sticking to their guns, don't seem to have any plans for console VR support in the near future. And personally, I've said this before, I think it's a big oversight from them, as PlayStation...
6 months later, they announce a controller. No.
PlayStation is just going to dominate the market, and you know, at least with PlayStation, they're offering the opportunity for VR support with their new console, and they've been very bullish on that so far with the announcements we've seen so far. And I think, you know, Xbox will just be trailing in the dust if it hits home and really does become this huge thing that we all want it to be.
Yeah,
Phil Spencer is going to cry in a corner while the sales are going sky high for PlayStation.
I can, anytime I hear any rumors about Microsoft, Xbox, and VR, like we were saying, like, huge disappointment. And the only thing that resounds in the back of my mind is, God damn it, Ninja Theory, why did you have to bind Hellblade to the fucking wrong platform? I want my Senua's Sacrifice 2, please.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that it's not gonna come out later on maybe PC, because I mean it's Microsoft still. So didn't they also buy Bethesda?
They did.
Don't remind me, man.
Oh, sorry.
Man.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. They also bought that.
Right in the heart. Look,
everything they buy will turn into pancake stuff. You know, they transform everything. You know?
Enjoy Skyrim VR while it lasts.
No, these are shooting bullets, man. Jesus.
I mean, it's not like it's like too late for Xbox to get into the game. You know, they have such a huge market together with PlayStation. If they even if they would make like the first VR headset like 5 years from now, they see like it's really taken off, then all of those people that are huge Xbox fans will still.
I agree.
I'm sure.
It's the effect of the prodigal son, like the prodigal son or the prodigal daughter. Like they're going to be out here on this cold island shivering by themselves. And eventually one year the finance department's going to clink a little glass and be like, why aren't there enough coppers in here, sir? And they're like, well, we didn't do VR 10 years ago. We should have. And so, that's what's going to happen. And then they'll come and we'll welcome them in with a nice warm blanket and warm them up.
Yeah, and again,
they can jump in anytime they want.
Yeah, and again, they have the games. They have Halo. Who doesn't want to be Master Chief in VR?
Forza. Gears of War.
Forza,
Gears of War in VR. Yeah,
Skyrim, Fallout.
Anyway, it's not happening right now, so let's not get hyped about the games that aren't coming to VR in the future. But that is the news anyway. Someone found that message. Wow. It was quickly shut down by Xbox. So
very anticlimactic. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm glad they put that's the right move to do as a company, because it's really not fair if some incorrect news gets out like that. You know what everyone does with it, so it's very important that they do. And we don't always see companies jump on the live grenade and kind of snuff it out. So I'm glad Microsoft did.
I do have to say, this is a special show. I mean, we're talking about PlayStation VR. That's a real thing. Then we have Xbox again for some reason. We have Oculus, of course. I mean, we cannot get around Oculus anymore in a show. And then we have, of course, Valve. So I mean,
let's
and Vive as well. So
of course, we're covering the spectrum of VR here right now. So let's get into the Valve news, because that is kind of interesting as well, because this week some patents were published, which seems to be of a replacement head strap for the Valve Index, which features onboard processing and a wireless module. It's worth noting that these patents were filed in September 2020, but were just published this week. So they've been in the works for a little while. Whether this will mean that they go down the route of a standalone headset is probably unlikely, but it is more likely that this is going to be a wireless module to allow you to play PC VR content with the Valve Index completely wirelessly, which is going to be pretty cool. Because certainly myself, just recently, I've sort of, gone towards the Quest 2 regularly when it comes to playing PC VR content, purely because of the fact that it's wireless. I can use it with virtual desktop, and my Wi-Fi 6 router works flawlessly, and it's a great experience. And that in itself is worth choosing it over the Index, in my opinion. So to see them going down this route is going to be interesting. Would you guys buy a wireless module for the Valve Index?
Yeah, because I used, of course, the Y-Gig one, from Intel on the Vive. Worked also amazingly. So yeah, I'm down. But I mean, I still have to figure out what games I'm gonna play, because there are not really any games I can play with my Valve Index that are coming out. Okay, Vertigo 2 still, but
hype. So I should also say that companies submit patents all the time, and this is by no means a confirmation that a product like this will ever see the light of day. Although it is great to see that Valve is still.
I don't know. I mean, we were also laughing about Half-Life coming to VR, so I mean, I'm down.
Yeah. Okay, I'd happy to be wrong. I'm happy for this.
No, but I think you're right. Actually, I think you're right. Yeah.
But also, Valve has always been a company to test new hardware and try new stuff out, and if it then doesn't work, then they just dump it, like the Steam Link. But they typically, I mean, maybe not for all patents, but they typically when they start developing some hardware, even if it's a test, they do bring it out on the market and then see if it goes well, and then if it doesn't, they just get rid of it.
No, but it does make sense to upgrade it, upgrade the headset with a wireless. I think a lot of developers are going to appreciate it. Also, their, loyal VR community wants it. So, I mean, this is a requested thing that people wanted for a long time.
Yeah, it's needed to compete, is my stand on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, as well, what we've seen from Gabe recently in interviews, that they're talking about brain interface, computing. We've talked about this on the show before, but that was also in a replacement strap sort of package. So, and it looks like maybe that in the future we might have multiple different straps to choose from with the Valve Index. We'll have one that gives it wireless capability, one that can read your brainwaves, hopefully not write to your brainwaves, because that's what Gabe Newell wants to do. And I think that's very dangerous and scary.
Reading them can be pretty dangerous too,
I think reading them is fine, right? Because it's pretty passive.
Okay, you try it first.
I'm asking the brain man.
Well, I mean, it's just, again, the amount of data that you collect from that.
But it's not going to cause you any danger in terms of like it's not going to like when Gabe mentioned that. Oh yeah, remember Bob? He played with this headset and then it wiped his memory, and now he's like pooping in the woods, running around all day. It's not going to be like that, is it?
I don't think that will happen anytime soon. I don't think you'll ever get a device that will be approved for consumer usage.
It's going
in the slightest percentage.
I would just love to frame this and just take a snapshot in a year from now, just see us eating our words. I don't know. It's just I feel like humanity has no limits.
Right now.
Mike was a YouTuber once.
Exactly. But yeah, so I just thought I'd throw it out there, that they've got these patents online. You can go and check them out. They're publicly available. Links are available through like Upload VR or Road to VR. They're both on both websites.
But it does make sense. It does make sense in a way. It's not something random this is something that people want for a while.
Yeah, I'd be interested in it for sure.
I don't know. The patent news always seems so far off the mark versus what you end up seeing in the final product. All it kind of really gives you from an information side is like a teaser of the direction that they're going.
Yeah, exactly.
You rarely can connect the dots so directly that I've found between patent news that we had and the controller that we had. I mean,
wait. I think what it is, it's not this. There's actually going to come a strap where you can use the Steam Link on. You can just click it into the back of your head and then reuse it for wireless function.
Can we just kick Nathan off?
Yeah, let's just get rid of him.
It's a cheap solution.
Right.
Hire me, Valve, hire me.
Any
That's all the news.
Assassins out there?
Obviously, we dwelled on the PSVR 2 a little bit, but we got through the other news pretty quickly. So now...
You want to kill me? You want to kill me because I just said that, Tim. You're so...
Get him out. Let's talk, Nathan. Let's talk about our hands-on impressions, or should I say, face-on impressions with the Vive Facial Tracker.
This is going to get interesting, huh? Yeah.
Because we both had one, right? We both tested it out. We jumped into Neos together and put it to the test. Actually, before we get into our experience with the Neos thing, I want to sort of go on about something that I mentioned on last week's show, and that is that I said that I was going to test it out with the Index because I don't have a Vive Pro or a Vive Pro I, and thankfully that test was successful, so I was able to get it working with the Valve Index. However, nice. I had to use a little adapter to convert the USB-C to USB-A, which then I could use to insert into the frunk of the Valve Index, and I had to be a bit creative with some double-sided foam tape to make it mount to the bottom of the Valve Index. But other than that,
it plushes?
Oh, he just likes to have his Index be as furry as he is.
Yeah. That's true.
I've heard about these people on the internet, and Mike is clearly one of them.
Someone said that there were a beard for my headset. But what you're actually referring to there is some little furry stick-on bits that I put on the bottom of my Valve Index as mic. They prevent mic plosives.
Yes, plosives. Yeah. That's right. That's
confusing because I'm Mike as well. But yeah, microphone.
Mike VR furry confirmed.
Oh, that's such an old joke.
Microphone plosives. Yeah,
Mike,
there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the VR community will get creative with 3D printing mounts and stuff for different headsets. So just to sort of clarify, you can use this module on any VR headset. So you could use it with the Quest 2, for example, when using Oculus Link or Virtual Desktop. But you would need to run an extension from the module back to your PC. So just
extra cables.
Yeah. So obviously there is limited software available to use with the Vive Facial Tracker right now.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, it doesn't even come with its own software to test it from HTC, which is a bit of a missed opportunity because in some of the trailers they kind of showed this kind of showcase of like a frog head, like a human head doing all these kind of facial movements. Even if they bundled something like that, a small little program where you can just test it out privately, that would have been nice, but obviously we just had to jump straight into Neos VR, which is one of the few games that actually supports it. And actually, one of the things that came out of this test was that we discovered Neos VR and how amazing it is as a social VR experience, right, Nathan?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's like VR chat, but then in its beginning stages where they're still working on creating an ecosystem, it's fantastic. Like the tools they made are having so much potential. It's also very, let's say, shared. So when Mike opens up his menu in there, I can see what he's doing. I can also help him out if I want. It's all very, simple. Although it is not for consumers right now, but if they're getting there, then this is going to be fantastic. So it's work in progress. But if you get the chance to jump in, do it. It's totally free. It's on Steam, and the people in there are so nice. They're so nice.
And I think we should just state like the UI is very complicated. There's a lot of menus within menus.
But the moment you understand it, it opens a world that is just so cool.
But I think it can be a bit overwhelming for people just jumping in. But that's where I would say, like, there's a little community where you can basically set up your avatar, but you can have it in a shared space where a mod can come in and actually help you out. And we just jumped in, you know, we didn't give anyone the heads up or anything. And we had this moderator jump in and say, hey, I know that you're new to Neos. Is there anything I can help you with? And I was like, yeah, you know, my avatar looks a bit funky with the body tracking because I was using the new Vive trackers on my waist and my feet. And he was like, bring up your avatar creation tool, like menu. And then he could actually manipulate my avatar from the menu.
I saw him do that. He grabbed Mike's butt.
He grabbed my virtual butt,
and he
like
just adjusted it. Yeah,
it was crazy. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't walking like a prawn anymore. I was like upright and, you know, standing straight, and it was great. But it was
he was also a licensed chiropractor. Nice.
He was a virtual licensed chiropractor.
Yeah.
And then he was just like super chill. He was like, oh, can we show you some stuff? And he took us to like a virtual racetrack where we jumped into our own little vehicles in like a wipeout style track and had a race around it. Then we went into other social worlds where there were people like remotely collaborating with each other. It was pretty legit. Like I would say, and there was another experience. We went into a room with loads of chessboards, and there was another moderator in there, and he was like, yeah, check this out. He turned himself into a chess piece and we could move him on the board. It was like hollow chess. It was amazing. So yeah, like props to Neos. I think they're a great social platform. Like I say, it's it can be a bit overcomplicated when you jump in at first, but the mods there and the community there are super nice. So go check it out. But that aside,
I had no idea you were so flexible either, Mike. Jesus Christ.
Incredibly flexible.
He was like you should see him with his trackers on, man. He is like.
Well, hopefully, like Zim's showing the video now, like some of the moves I was pulling off.
My God,
you know?
I didn't know.
Yeah, very natural movements here. It's what I would expect from someone ex-police, to be honest.
Is this me on my back with my legs in the air?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're showing now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was literally like Nathan and I. We were laughing our ass off. Like we were having like the best time.
I still have to laugh. This is so
it was
funny.
Hilarious. But talking about like the Vive Facial Tracker. Like, you know, obviously Nathan had it up and running with the Vive Pro. I had it on the Valve Index, and it just worked. You know, like you just take a box of Neos and it works. And, you know, I think it really adds something to that social experience. It felt like instead of just seeing an avatar, it felt more like Nathan because like his little nuances of his mouth moving was tracked and like added to his virtual avatar, and that's what made it kind of like
I could identify your avatar as being you. In certain ways, the way you were laughing, the way you were talking, I could just kind of read the emotions that I would also be able to read in real life. Because of course we know each other so well that I just know when you're making a joke or when you're serious.
Special experience together.
I could know him so well. The way his tongue was twisting in my throat, it was just
Well, when you smile or when you laugh, you know that. You know, it feels way.
He was laughing at me, and I just had to laugh too, and then we couldn't stop laughing. It was like a special moment. Like the first time you try it, it really adds something to it, and I think the moment you get used to it, you don't want to go back to seeing just an avatar without that stuff. I'm serious.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, although Neos is the only one supported right now, I'm sure like support will come to VR chat, and I'm sure the VR chat crowd are going to love this because it just takes that, you know, embodiment in VR to another level. You know, you've got that expressive nature of your mouth being translated to your avatar, and it's really, really cool experience.
Yeah, it is.
The reason this tech excites me, not because I want one, because I think that the whole Vive setup is... I'll come back to that, Nathan, but not because the whole Vive, it just looks ridiculous. Like they seem to pioneer a lot of times, like the off-ear headphones with the dog ear flaps that they had with the Pro Strap and originally for the audio, and then it's like so many things like bolted on it. It looks absolutely ridiculous from the outside right now, right?
I do agree,
and that's fine. Yeah. But the thing that excites me is that this is coming out of Asia, no doubt, manufacturing-wise, right? So a lot of these players in the VR scene are going to have similar technology. And I wouldn't be at all surprised, given what we've heard from Abrash and things like that, if you saw this in an upcoming, you know, Oculus headset, for example, built into the headset, integrated. Because this feature is something that if it's integrated into the headset and it's not an add-on, then I will use it, right? And I will benefit from it. But it needs to be a standard, not just like, not just this thing that, you know, one person out of 20 has.
No, it will.
And I think, from what we've seen from HP with the, the HP Reverb G2 Omnicept Edition, which has built-in eye and mouse tracking.
Yeah.
We have Deca Gear coming soon, which has eye and mouse tracking. Oculus have demonstrated their sort of technology around that kind of feature as well. So no doubt it's going to be integrated in parts of headsets in the future. And I think that's what it needs, is to be a bit more discreet, because like you say, it is very...
Yeah.
obvious.
It's a dev kit, and it was already out a year ago, so this is quite old already. So first only devs were using it. Now it's open for the public to buy.
Yeah, but I'm sure, particularly the VR chat crowd will enjoy a product like this. But
VTubers.
VTubers, yeah, absolutely. Devs that want to create more lifelike NPCs in their games.
Public speaking too, where people do conferences.
Lonely
and stuff.
YouTube creators who just need a friend across the ocean.
Exactly.
You have a great mirror, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So, I think it's still like early days for this tech, but I think it's going to be pushed more mainstream when it's integrated, like you say, Zim, in future headsets. But it was totally fun to play
It's
around
like
with
what we said last time about like the leap motion, that hand tracking is cool, but it didn't really get integrated. But once it becomes part of the headset, then you'll see that probably being used everywhere.
And I did want to say, guys, thanks for putting this on film. Like I don't say it often, but I think you guys did a good job here of showcasing. Particularly, Mike, I liked your side by side with all the headgear on. Right, it does look like someone's getting ready to not go to prom and has the whole teeth gear or whatever. It's ridiculous looking, right? But you really did a good job of showcasing it, and your camera setup's beautiful. I mean, that's normal for your videos and stuff.
And the twerking.
And the twerking was just fantastic. It was just on the money. On the money.
I'm glad that my tips worked for that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it's all in the hips, like you said. But just to reiterate, if you're interested in the Vive Facial Tracker, it's available right now in the UK and Europe. It will be available to order in the US from the 24th, I believe, so next week. It's priced at 129 British pounds or 129 US dollars.
Yeah, and it's as I said, it's available for everyone. Well, usually it's kind of like dev stuff. It's just that you have to create a mount or use some tape to, be able to kind of. That's the only problem.
Yeah, that's weird.
They'll be out in force with the 3D printers.
Yeah.
Does it come with its own mounting option in the box?
Yeah, it does.
And if so, is that any good? Yeah.
So you can use that to directly click it straight into the Vive or Vive Pro. It doesn't work with the Cosmos, which is strange. We met a dev in Neos that was using it with the Cosmos, but it actually blocks the lower tracking camera, so it causes tracking problems. That's why they don't advertise it for use with any other headsets, because they know it doesn't work with their Cosmos. It does work with other headsets, though. You just need to be creative with the mounting solution. And like I said, 3D printed mounts will no doubt be available from Thingiverse and stuff in a few weeks' time if you're interested.
Cool.
Yeah. Another thing I want to just quickly mention was the Vive trackers, because obviously we tested those with the twerking and the dancing and stuff. They were awesome. They were really cool. Using one on your waist, one on each foot, a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. Although you need straps. They don't provide any straps in the box, so Rebuff Reality are the best straps you can buy, in my opinion, so far. And the only other thing I would say as a criticism is that you need to use a separate dongle for each tracker, which takes up a lot of USB ports on the PC.
Sorry, just on that, Mike, when you're mounting them, is it just essentially a Velcro loop? Like, what does the back of a tracker look like? Do you have one there that you can show to us and maybe just talk through for the audio listeners? Because I'm curious.
So this is the let me just adjust the focus here.
Yeah, Mike is adjusting the focus. He's currently popped up
can I do that?
An interesting frame shot. Yeah.
There we go. So this is the tracker.
Now.
I'm trying, Rowdy.
That's good.
Jeez, give me a break.
It looks really weird. I don't know why. There's like
it will soon go away. It will soon go away.
Oh, now it's gone.
Oh, that's an armband. So it's a Vive tracker that has a 3/4 screw jack onto what looks like. Is that are those sticky spots, or what are the spots on the armband?
They're just like little rubbery spots just to get it.
Grip it so it doesn't so it doesn't come loose.
These are track straps from Rebuff Reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you just kind of screw them on there. So it's like a tripod mount basically.
How
much
Rebuff also made the light guns, the duck hunt kind of things that you can shoot with.
Yeah. How much do those Rebuff Reality straps cost?
I think it's like $20 or something like that for a set. They also do the battery powered ones, which are these ones, which are the Track Belt Plus. And they're going to add support for the Vive 3.0 trackers because they use USB-Cs. The pack that you previously bought had sort of USB to micro USB for the original trackers, but obviously they're going to be adding adapters to the new set. So if you buy these new from the site now, I think you'll have the USB-C adapters for the new trackers. So
nice. So that keeps it charged for some time. How do you know the runtime on that?
I'm not sure of the runtime, but it just adds more battery life to the already pretty decent battery life of the 3.0 ones. So yeah, there's some options there.
Thanks for answering that, because I was thinking in my head that maybe it was just something you could, manufacture yourself, but actually with a 3/4 inch mounting stock, I can't think of anything else that would be easy to manufacture at home.
No, and that's why I mentioned with the Tundra trackers, they've got a better mounting solution. It's more universal. You can just slip a watch strap through it, or a belt, or your shoelaces. And
I'm not sure it was them as well who were able. Well, that's what they say, that they created a system that allows you to just connect all your trackers to one source instead of having all these different ones. So you don't have to completely stuff your PC with USBs.
Also, before we move on to releases, I just want to quickly mention that I got the Deca Gear that arrived this week. This is the hip tracker from Deca Gear, so I can quickly show you that if you want to see it.
Yeah, sure.
But basically, they sent out like blogger editions to like YouTubers and people online to go and test out, and this is the kind of like a 3D printed version of the hip tracker that will be released for sale soon. So this is kind of what it looks like. It's like a little module with a belt clip on the back.
It looks like Wall-E in
a button
black.
at the front. Yeah.
Like a little robot.
And if you're not familiar with what this is, like you attach it to your hip, and basically like in game you can move based on the hip rotation rather than where your head or hands are facing. So it's completely independent. So you could be moving forward based on your hips, looking in either direction or shooting in either direction all at the same time, which is pretty cool. We haven't seen that before, and I haven't tested it out, but I'm very intrigued how it works. But I think the response that we've seen so far has been pretty positive. So looking forward to checking that out. And, I think the thing with Deca Gear is that they're an unknown company to a certain degree, so we were quite skeptical. But seeing them bring this hardware to market, and, from what I've heard so far, that it works pretty well, it gives you more faith in them actually delivering on what they promised with the headsets as well. So pretty cool tech, and hopefully I'll get to try it out this week, and I can talk more about it next week on the show.
How's the build quality?
When I first heard about this hip tracking stuff like that, I really see the potential of that. I really think that's something neat.
The build quality is very good. You can tell that this is just like a 3D printed version right now. The final version won't be 3D printed. This connects to your PC with a dongle that they include in the box with a little antenna. I can show you that as well. Whereas the final release will actually connect to the headset, which will then be connected to your PC. So yeah, like the build quality is very good, even for like a very early prototype version.
I think the fact that they already shipped it out to us is already one thing, because we're working on stuff and it never arrives. But the fact that it comes out there, and as you said, the reaction so far of other people were really good. Of course, making a headset is a total different ball game, but we'll see.
Promising start anyway, and hopefully, like I said, I can talk more about it on next week's show. But now, of course, it is time for releases, so let's hand it over to Zim for what we got to look forward to next week.
Oh yeah, not too much. It's not a huge stack of things, but we've got a few things out there and some warnings. I've got some warnings for you, because I've seen some stuff out there that you might want to go for that I'm going to say maybe don't. Starting with this one.
Stuff.
I've seen, absolutely. This is like Tales of War. So the first game I'm going to talk about was a PSVR release, and I'm going to run you the PSVR trailer. This is Immortal Legacy: The Jade Cipher. Now, I got interested in this. Well, I've got a daughter named Jade, so that first drew my attention to it. But more so, it's an action-packed campaign adventure. FPS elements in it. As I said, this was originally a PlayStation VR title. Now, the price at the moment on launch, and this is landed on the 19th of March, so this is available now, was $15.11. So this is available on Steam. This is a port of the PlayStation VR game. And I'll tell you a little bit about the game before I give you the kind of the bad news. Okay, so this is about unearthing the disturbing truth behind an ancient Chinese legend in Immortal Legacy. It's a heart-stopping mix of horror and first-person action, which previously was an exclusive to PSVR, but has come over now since. Users of it who really appreciate the game have said it's got an articulate balance of like story and gunplay, so not too much in either camp. A low entry point, even when it landed on PlayStation, and I'd agree, for $15, that's a decent price for any game. And the only thing that I would say about this is that users are complaining that the port is rubbish, and here's the kicker, doesn't currently work on Quest 2 nor Index. So that's a problem. Apparently a Vive wand appears in front of you. So although it's got a good kind of end-to-end campaign and people might have enjoyed it on PlayStation, users have tried it on both platforms at the moment have said it's got essentially game-breaking bugs. 13 reviews at the moment on Steam, mostly negative. And an example remark here, as I usually give from users, this fella Kent says, "My biggest problem with the PC port is it's designed to play on a couch. When you turn around in real life, your game character stays facing forward. So you have to always use smooth or snap turn and stay facing in the same direction you play. Otherwise, the game character's arms and body get all twisted up, causing the guns to drift further and further away from your controller."
Because it was made for the PlayStation VR.
Because it was
it's front-facing.
Yeah, so it's looking a bit like a shifty port. So this person wraps up their review by saying, "The first 2 hours weren't bad. The levels were a little bland looking, and I've seen that in other reviews. They said the girls weren't, though. Winky face." So apparently there's quite a lot of kind of Japanese ladies in here that are well animated. But it goes well with the kind of the story that they've got in the game, the FPS gunplay. There's a lot of PSVR reviewers who have really enjoyed this end to end as a story game. But it sounds like it's a bit of a broken port. So in case you were like me and you were actually waiting for something like this to happen, and it certainly triggered my eye, I was like, hey, I'm going to go play that now. You might want to not play it. So that's Immortal Legacy, Jade Cypher. Add a question. Did any of you play Jade Cypher on PlayStation?
Nope.
No, okay. Because it kind of came, but it didn't have a huge amount of fanfare at the time. It was mostly kind of, again, it's one of those more Asian titles.
When did it come out?
This was 2019. So it was a little bit late in the cycle. We might have all been a little bit distracted last year with something that happened globally. I don't know. So next thing, biggest thing for me in all of March has to be Cosmodread. So Cosmodread, the spiritual sequel to Dread Halls, is taking horror into space. If you want to do a bit of pre-play, get your fear on. Dread Halls is currently available for around about $10. This is going to be coming to PCVR and Quest, and essentially you're trapped in a dying spaceship filled with horrors. You must find your way back to the safety of Earth. I want to say Cosmophobia, but it's Cosmodread, features a rich, immersive atmosphere that will make you forget about the world outside the headset. In a survival horror game, is that a good thing? No, probably not. Bring new pants. So the three elements of this that differ from Dread Halls are, number one, you're in space. You got to search for resources and craft stuff. You weren't doing any kind of crafting in Dread Halls, okay? The survival element is there. There are enemies that will track you down and kill you, and environmental hazards as well that can kill you along the way, like electricity. And then the third element of this that I find quite a bit different is the fact that you're fighting. So you're actually battling against. You have weapons this time. So you actually have, for example, a crossbow that you can use, traps which you can use against these enemies, these foes that are coming after you. But I don't know, you're trapped on a space station. You're most likely going to die. Repeat, rinse, repeat. If that's your kind of thing, then you probably need to have some psychotherapy. But like me, I'm probably going to jump into this later in the week. So that's Cosmodread. Are you guys going to be playing any of this?
I'm looking forward to this one. It looks like fun, and I think they reiterate it in the trailer that you're going to die and die and die many, many times. But I think the satisfaction of eventually cracking it and making your way off the ship is going to be super satisfying. So yeah, I'm going to jump in and give it a go and see what it's all about.
Did you play Dread Halls with this heart rate thing?
So I played Dread Halls on a live stream, and I finished it on a live stream.
Dread Halls isn't difficult to beat. It depends on, it's procedural, right? So I think both of these games have a procedural element to it, where the level design, you don't know what you're going to get. You're not playing the same thing. The thing I would equate this closest to is probably The Persistence, which was an excellent PlayStation title. Still has, if you're in a situation where you've got a friend or a single family member,
this is again
and a
one
couch,
of those hidden things.
The tablet support I've never seen. Playing more than 1,000 VR games, I've never seen better local, I want to terrorize my buddy. So take I Expect You to Die, take, what's the bomb game, the bomb defusal game, guys?
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Take those games and flip them on their head and make it that everybody with a tablet wants to both help you and hurt you in your experience of a really terrifying game. I love VR horror games, but the persistence is really nasty. That's available on PC. It's available on PSVR. The tablet integration is fantastic. The one thing that a lot of PC players will remark at if you play it, you have 2 fixed arms, right, that are out there, and it's controller support. It doesn't have like touch controls, motion control support at the moment. So those things do detract, but it is terrifying. It is to the point where I haven't beaten it because it is too scary. It's just a tough game. So persistence, if you want to jump into a game that's available immediately, 25th of March, Cosmodread's coming out for fans of Dread Halls and other scary stuff. Okay.
Nice one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. So with like this, like I'll take it like the original Windlands, when they changed it, became multiplayer, you had different things, it became less zen. It really changed the mood. So I hope the mood still stays firm and it doesn't go silly. That's my only concern with it, is like if Sergio Hidalgo and the team behind this have gone a little bit and broken the candor in the original game, there's a risk there. But I have high hopes. I really enjoyed the first one, and it still lasts to this day. Now, a couple of things just to mention. These are the warnings part of the podcast. All right. So there is a game, and I'm not going to show it because you've seen it here before. You might remember a game that I spoke about called Suicide Guy VR, where essentially in the game you are looking to, you're supposedly in a dream, and you have to kill yourself in a number of colorful ways in VR. And it's a game that was originally in flat, came to VR. They've rebranded the name. So they're
no shit, Sherlock. I mean,
yeah, well, they had to, right? I'm sure. But they've landed now on the Oculus Rift platform. It's not very expensive, £8, $10, and it's called The Guy VR. So it's all the same gameplay. It is still, I'll call it pseudo VR supported, in that the puzzles, designs, and what they designed into the game still seem pretty cool. But I still, having played an hour of the game myself, I'm going to recommend you stay away from it. It really isn't a very satisfying VR experience. The concepts that they have in the various scenes seem kind of neat. And as I said, it's a little bit on the edge in terms of its humor. I'm going to recommend that you stay away from it. But if you're on Oculus Rift and you really want to, repeatedly off yourself, then try the Guy VR on there.
Like of all the platforms, I mean, the Rift platform is still easy to get onto. So, I mean, it's like a less safe haven for devs.
It's weird. I don't know if they've changed their name on Steam now.
I think if Facebook would know what this game is all about, they're going to pull it out of the store.
That's my feeling.
They're not aware of it.
Yeah,
but they're not aware of it. So if you would make some noise about this, like, trust me, next week it's not on the store anymore.
Yeah. All it would take is from some news publication to say, there's a VR game where you have to kill yourself. Yeah, it would be pulled.
I really do think that, unfortunately, you can see the spirit that the dev put into it and the kind of humor they were trying to spin. Yeah. But I think that rebranding it is a little... The reason I'm bringing it up again is I feel it's a little bit snaky to rebrand it, to get it on the platform, and B, kind of tricks consumers into something that you might not want.
Rebranding it, but they're not changing the concept of the game.
They're calling it a puzzle game, and it's like, that's not really a puzzle game. Yeah, I get it, because you have to figure out, okay, how do I get the saw into my forehead? All that kind of stuff for a VR game.
Amazing.
Maybe it doesn't original. I'm going to show you.
Definitely, if I would have.
Head over to Steam Workshop library, click the releases this week.